Hello, once again, I'm Richard, and today I'm going to walk you through some words for the GRE Verbal Section. That's some very nice words for your GRE Wordlist from MAGOOSH Flashcards. MAGOOSH Flashcards is a good resource which you can download from Google Play Store. It's not only for the GRE Verbal Section, but you can also use it for the quantitative section. That's when you subscribe to their packaging. I always advise students to create a word list, ideally 3,000 words. You can create this list on your phone, your desktop computer, using any word application. Then you have to familiarize yourself with these words to make yourself confident and well prepared for the GRE, that's the sentence completing sections and the comprehension, as well as the GRE analytical section. Consider words like glee and maladroit. These words may sound unfamiliar, but to somebody they are familiar, of course. So usually my advice to students is that do not consider them as difficult. Just consider them as unfamiliar, because these are everyday words of someone. And that someone may also find some of your everyday words as unfamiliar or say difficult. So where can you meet some of these words? You can meet some of these words by reading online news sites or websites such as The Guardian, New York Times, Fox News, CNN, and the like. So anytime you come across any unfamiliar word, I'll advise you to familiarize yourself with it and add it to your word list. Let me point to this. No matter what, you will meet unfamiliar words in the GRE examination, no matter the number of words in your word list. So anytime you come across any unfamiliar word, try to deduce the meaning of the word from its usage in the sentence. That's a very good strategy in preparing yourself for the GRE Verbal Section. Before you familiarize yourself with it and now add it to your GRE word list. So without much ado, let's delve right into the MAGOOSH Flashcards Advanced Level 1. So let's look at these MAGOOSH words. This is advanced level. MAGOOSH is a very good resource for GRE vocabulary. I'm not sponsored by them, but I think it's a very good place to look for words to build your word list. So let's look at unprepossessing. Nothing remarkable. World leaders coming to meet Gandhi will expect a towering surge, and often will be surprised by the unprepossessing little man dressed only in a handcuff and short. So that's unremarkable. Let's move on to the next word. Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is to have joy in other people's suffering. Schadenfreude. That's joy in other people's suffering. From his warm apartment window, Stanley reveled in Schadenfreude as he laughed at the figures below, huddled together in the architecture. So that's to take joy in other people's suffering. Okay, let's move on to the next word. Peevish. Peevish is irritable.
Peevish, irritable. Let's move on. Eponym. Anytime you hear name, it has to do with name. So eponym, I think something derived from a name. So eponym derived from a name. Let's see. Okay. Glean. Glean is to collect. Glean, collect. Let's move on. Malapropism. Malapropism is, I think, confusing similar words. Malapropism. That's confusing similar words. Let's move on. Redress. Redress is to correct unfairness. To seek redress in court. That's to correct unfairness. To seek redress in court. That's to correct unfairness. Yeah, we are right. Okay. Eponym reviewing. Reviewing eponym. And we knew to do what? Derived from a name. Let's move on. Maladroit. Maladroit is, I think, clumsy. Let's see. Oh, we're right. I was not very sure. As a child, she was quite maladroit, but as an adult, she has become an adept dancer. Adept. I think adept is skilled. So, in creating your word list, anytime you see any strange word, just pick it up, get the meaning, and then add it to your list of words. That's a good way of creating a word list. Every time you see a new word, just pick it up and then get the meaning, add it to your words. Yeah, let's move on. Abrogate. I think abrogate. Abrogate, bring into existence, overturn the law. Think. Abrogate. It has a strong link with to overturn a law. There is one which resembles abrogate. There's one if not abrogate. One has to do it to take aggressively. To take something unlawfully or aggressively. So let's see. Abrogate. Abrogate to overturn a law. Abrogate means to overturn a law. As part of the agreement between the labor union and the company, the workers abrogated their right to strike for 4 years in exchange for better health insurance. So abrogate is to overturn a law. Abrogate, overturn a law. Let's move on. Facetious. So facetious. Facetious means humorous, something humorous, something farcical, something arousing laughter. So that would take humorous. We are done with level 1. Let's move on. Continue to level 2. I will not submit a review now. Let's move on. So implacable. Implacable means cannot be calmed. Placate is to calm. So implacable means cannot be calmed. So let's move on. Aboveboard. Aboveboard means to be honest. Aboveboard, to be honest. The Despite his avuncular face plastered about the city, was hardly above board. Some concluded that it was his ingratiating smile that allowed him to engage in corrupt behavior and get away with it. Okay, let's move on to unquestionable. Unquestionable is, I think, unreasonable. Unquestionable is clearly coming from the word conscience or to reason. So unquestionable, I think, is unreasonable. Unreasonable, unbelievable. Unreasonable, unbelievable. I think unreasonable. Yeah, we are right. Unquestionable. The lawyer's demands were so unquestionable that rather than pay an exorbitant sum or submit himself to any other inconveniences, the defendant decided to find a new lawyer. Wow. Unconscionable, unreasonable. Okay, let's move on. Very nice. Let's get through 2 levels and then we'll continue in another video. So, Lioness. The lioness is to celebrate someone. To lionize, to celebrate someone. Students in the US learned to lionize Jefferson, Franklin, and Washington because they were the founding fathers of the nation. Wow. Lionize, to celebrate someone or celebrate something. Desiccated. Desiccated is lacking vitality. Desiccate. That's something that's dry, something that's lacking vitality. Let's move on. Moot. Moot is something, I think, irrelevant. Moot, something irrelevant. Yeah, something irrelevant. Moot, something irrelevant. Since the board just admitted Steve as the CEO, the finance committee's opinion of his marketing plan for next year is now moot. So it means the finance committee's opinion of his marketing plan for next year is now irrelevant. Okay, so moot, irrelevant, moot, irrelevant, moot, irrelevant. At times, in order to memorize a word, you can try to find a word stem in the word. If it's a long word, if it's a long word, you can try to find a word stem in it that has a strong link in meaning to that word. Then you use that to try to remember the word. There are other ways of memorizing words, like trying to create a mental image. So that anytime you mention the word, that image will come in mind, and you use that one to remember the word. Another way is to try to find the origin of the word. That's the etymology. Trying to find the origin of the word, and through that, it will get to stick. It will get to stick with you. Another way to is to use mnemonics. That's try to link the pronunciation of the word to the meaning of the word. That's another way of memorizing words. So you choose the one that works best for you. At times you have to combine them. If you use one for one word and doesn't work, you can try that with another method. If none works with that word, then you can use boot memory. That's mention the word in the definition over and over and over again until it sticks, then you move on. Sometimes you need to be fast because the GRE, you have to memorize a number of words within a very short period of time. And some of these methods are time consuming. So at times you have to just use the boot memory technique. Mention the word and then the meaning. Mention the word and the meaning. Mention the meaning several times until it sticks. Yeah. So let's move on. Mood. That's something relevant. Let's move on. To promulgate. To promulgate means to make something officially known. So to promulgate, to officially make known. The president wanted to promulgate the success of the treaty negotiations, but he had to wait until Congress formally approved the agreement. So to promulgate means to make something known. Quip is a witty remark. Quip. I think there's another word that has to do with a witty remark. I think. And another word that has to do with a witty remark or witty reply. So quip, witty remark. Let's move on. Factitious. Factitious is artificial. Factitious, a thing is artificial. The defendant's story was largely factitious and did not accord with eyewitness testimonies. So factitious is artificial. Factitious asserts. Factitious asserts. They are all words that represent something artificial. So factitious, artificial. Vaunted. Vaunted has to do with bragging or boasting. Vaunted has to boast. Vaunted. For years, Mark pulled up his ping-pong game. Yet, when he entered the office tournament, his much vaunted skills suddenly failed him and he lost all 3 games he played. Wow. So vaunted is to boast about or to brag. Vaunted, to boast about or to brag. Let's move on. Opposite. Opposite are things appropriate. Succinct is something small or a small amount. Then we have intelligent and placeable. So I think opposite is most appropriately appropriate. So opposite is appropriate. For a writer with such quick wit, Jonathan Swift has a rather opposite name. Wow, so he has a rather appropriate name. Wow. Let's move on. Good governors, they are always that represent urging something else. So good, to urge on. Dog did not want to enter the race, but Jim, through a steady stream of taunts, goaded him into signing up for it. So good as to urge on. Behoove. Behoove is to be one's duty. I'm trying to get another word that has to do with it. That's synonym of behoove. Oblige. Yeah, oblige. Oblige to become someone's obligation or to be someone's obligation. Oblige. So behoove, oblige, all stands for being an obligation or being one's duty. So behoove, be one's duty. The teacher looked down at the student and said, It would behoove you to be in class on time and complete your homework so that you don't repeat freshman English for a third straight year. Wow. to repeat freshman English for 3 years straight. And that's sad. So let's move on. Fastidious. Fastidious is to fussy. Fastidious is to fussy. Somebody requiring of details. Somebody that asks for so much details. That's fastidious. Fastidious to fussy. Convivial is sociable. Convivial means sociable. We have the other options are hectic, supporting life, friendly and lively. I think sociable. Convivial should be sociable. Wow. Friendly and lively. We are wrong. Convivial is to be friendly and lively. But that has a strong link with being sociable. Wow. If you would agree with me, friendly and lively has actually to be friendly and lively means you're actually being sociable. That's what I thought. But convivial basically is to be friendly, is to be sociable, like to be social and friendly. So I think basically it's the same thing. Their options are not very distinct. So the wedding reception was convivial. Friends who hadn't seen each other for ages drank and ate together before heading to the dance floor. So convivial is to be friendly and lively. It's actually to be like sociable, somebody who is friendly. Yeah. Convivial, friendly and lively. Yeah, we got this wrong. I hope we don't get it wrong again. Till we end this level. Let's move on. Aesthete. It's coming from aesthetic. An aesthete is someone who appreciates beauty. So an aesthete is someone who appreciates aesthetics. So take appreciator of beauty. We also have an important person, intellectual, physically gifted person. So appreciator of beauty. A true aesthete. Marty will spend hours at the Guggenheim Museum staring at the same Picasso. Wow. He will spend hours staring at the same Picasso. He should really be an appreciator of beauty. Let's move on. So we have the gist. I'm now committed to not making mistakes anymore until I complete this level for this video. So let's move on. The gist. The gist is a feature or characteristic of the times. Yeah, a feature. So that's the spirit of the times. So the gist is a feature or characteristic of a generation. The other things are lack of interest, strong disappointment, casual involvement, and so the gist is spirit of the times. Each decade has its own gist. The 1990s was a prosperous time when the promise of the American dream never seemed more palpable. Palpable is something that can be felt, something that is visible, but we are looking at the gist here. So the gist is the spirit of the times. The gist, the spirit of the times. Let's move on. Bridle, tangle, ravel, shackle is all to restrain. It's not talking about restrain. So bridle is to restrain. Bridle, restrain. Bridle, restrain. Bridle, restrain. we are revising. Behoove is, that's one good feature with the MAGOOSH Flashcards. I'm not sponsored by them, but that's one good feature of these MAGOOSH Flashcards. They give you an opportunity to revise what you've learned. Circumscribe comes from, I think, circumference. Circumscribe. Scribe is, I think, to write. So it gives an idea of the meaning of circumscribe. So I think that would be to restrict within limits. Circumscribe, I think, to restrict within limits. We have very restrict within limits. Describe in detail, look around, I think, to restrict within limits. The author of South America was circumscribed so that they saw only popular destinations and avoided the dangerous parts of the cities. So circumscribe is to restrict within limits. Let's move on. Ignoble is, I think, dishonorable. Ignoble. We can find a word stem inside the ignoble. So it will give you a hint that it could easily mean the opposite of the word stem in the word. That's noble. So ignoble gives us an idea of dishonorable. So ignoble, dishonorable. Yeah, we are right. In the 1920s, the World Series was rigged. An ignoble act with baseball took decades to recover from. So ignoble, dishonorable. Ignoble, dishonorable. Let's move on. Fastidious, we are reviewing. Fastidious, we learn to be fussy. Behoove again, behoove. We learn to be being one's duty. Let's move on. Convivial again. I think convivial, we said, was sociable, and we realized that it actually represented friendly and lively here. But I think sociable and friendly and lively are very similar in meaning as long as convivial is concerned. That's why we choose sociable. They say it is friendly and lively, so let's go by friendly and lively. Yeah. Good. We are reviewing. Good length is to edge on. Good. Galvanize. It all talks about edging something, to edge. Yeah, to edge something on. So good means to edge. Let's move on. Quick, we learn to be a witty remark. I reviewed quick. Quick, we learn to be a witty remark. Another review. Ignoble, we learn to be dishonorable. Let's move on. Convivial again. Friendly and lively. That's what we are to it is here. Convivial, friendly and lively. Wow, we are true. We made just a single mistake, which I think was understandable because it was very close in being with the correct one. So I think we understandably made that mistake. So that sums it up for our expedition with MAGOOSH Flashcards.